This is Scott for Rebellious Noise, and I'm here with.
It's your boy Dan from Rebellious Noise. What up,
And so,
guys?
we did a little extra there, nice. Today we're talking football once again because it is the 2020/21 Premier League season predictions. I guess we're going with. What we've done is I've picked my 1 to 20. Dan's picked the same. I haven't seen Dan's. Dan hasn't seen mine. We're gonna show each other at the exact same time, and then show you guys on the screen as well. So, it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if it's gonna be as wild as last year, but I'm sure there's a lot to look forward to still.
Yeah, I don't think Liverpool will go down, so that's my table out the window straight away.
All right, cool. By the way, I know I've got Gunnosaurus repping the Premier League trophy there, but that's not because I'm completely deluded and think we're winning the league. Arsenal fan, if you don't know. I don't think we're winning the league. It's just it looks cool. It's nice to dream or to reminisce even to the glory days, as I'm sure as a Man United fan you can attest to. Right,
Yeah,
so.
true.
But will there be glory for our teams this year? Let's see. Okay, so I haven't seen Dan's. Dan hasn't seen mine, and you lovely people haven't seen either. So we're gonna put them on the screen now. First reactions, Dan. Let's have a look. What is yours? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh.
Bit of movement in there.
Right. So the glaring thing. Where do you want to start, Dan? Bottom of the table or top of the table?
Wherever you want, mate. Obviously,
All right. Let's go with
the
we'll go from
business
the
end is
bottom.
the top, but if we go from the bottom up and then
Yeah, because at the bottom we've agreed on one thing, and that's Fulham 20th. It was hard. Relegation was really tough, man. Like, I think once you get to even 10th, but more so probably 14th down, like it could be anything.
yeah, I think for me the top 8 probably picked themselves, but it was more the order of like the order of the top 8 for me, and then like the bottom. I think there's like I could have picked any 3 from about 8 teams pretty much to go
Yeah,
down,
I
and so it's
think
just
I was tempted to put. You know what? So you've gone for Fulham, Palace, and Villa.
yeah,
I was tempted to put because it feels weird because Palace up until like last year they were like breaking into that top half. Well, they were in the top half, but they were breaking into that kind of Europa League spot. And it just didn't go well from last year. And yeah, I know a lot of people are thinking Roy Hodgson might even get the boot this year. So I mean, if he's finishing where you predicted to finish, I think he might be. And then Villa as well. Villa obviously narrowly escaped last season, and that was really down to that dodgy, goal line technology thing. If it wasn't for that, they literally would have been relegated. So I can see why you put them 18th. I put them just above again because I don't know, I have a bit of a soft spot for Villa, so I'm hoping they will scrape it through. And so for me, Fulham bottom, because I think it's going to be just like it was when they came up last time, where they don't strengthen enough, so they go straight back down. West Brom, I just don't see much going on for West Brom myself. And then I went for Brighton just because, again, they were so close to going down last season, as were Villa. I put Brighton there instead. But
yeah. I think for me the way that I was looking at it is, so I think Fulham, obviously, I think Fulham will go down bottom. The reason that I put Palace in there is because I was sitting there thinking to myself, are there 3 other teams that are probably worse than Crystal Palace? And you've got to think they've had their main problem last season was scoring goals. They've
yeah.
not brought in any other strikers. They're pretty much reliant on Christian Benteke, who's not scoring much. They've got Jordan Ayew there. Wilfred Zaha, obviously, we're recording this before like the transfer window's closed,
Could
so
be
we don't
gone.
know if Wilfred Zaha could go.
Or even if he's there, man, it's not like last year was his best season, was it? So
Exactly. And the
after
thing
what was
is,
already a transfer saga, so having 2 transfer windows like that, it's not ideal for him.
and it's like we've said on numerous occasions as well, all it takes is like one injury to a star player, and that could like literally derail a team's season,
It,
especially if you're so heavily reliant on that
yeah,
individual.
if you haven't strengthened enough, and yeah, um,
So that for me, that's the main reason I think Palace will go down. Is I
mm,
just feel like they've not got that. they've not at this moment got the firepower, I don't think, to get out of it. You know, they're not the most solid at the back, so they're going to concede goals, but it's okay conceding goals if you can then go and score. Like, if you concede 2 in a game, you need to then be able to go and score 3 to win the game, or 2 to at least get a draw.
Yeah.
Where are those goals going to come from for Palace? You know, if Zaha's having an off day, if, you know, they're reliant on Benteke, who's not obviously scoring. You know, Ayew, yeah, he chips in with goals, but, you know, I wouldn't say that any of their strikers are prolific. I mean, unless, as we say, unless they can bring in a striker, like, obviously, you know, we've seen Chelsea have, you know, strengthened dramatically during this window. Could we see one of the Chelsea youngsters maybe going on loan? You know, there's obviously rumours floating about all over the place, but, you know, I think if Palace can get in a striker, then potentially there's a chance that they can get out of it. But I think that they're going to go, you know, 19th in the table. And at the Aston Villa thing, I think they scraped by last season. They've brought in, at the moment, I think, a right back, and that's the only change that they've made. You know, they've not strengthened either. And you know, if they were pretty much going down last season, I don't think buying another right back is going to help you stay up this season. And you know,
and obviously, again, possibility of Grealish. Who knows what's going to go on with Grealish at this moment in time? You know, that's the thing with this transfer window staying open so long. It's kind of hard to call. And obviously, we're doing this about a week out from the season opening anyway. But yeah, so a lot of these could change in a week. You know, a lot of them could change in a month. Our opinions on this, but we might do like a mid-season one as well. We'll see how this goes, and obviously a reaction to our original predictions, which I'm sure there'll be a lot of laughs about come to it, or maybe some smugness as well. But yeah, I think Villa are really tough as well, because I think it's a lovely story with the manager, you know, hometown boy, a Villa fan, and all that. But I know a lot of people are saying he's a championship level manager. You know, can they really? Do they not need to get someone with a bit more Premier League experience to prevent them from just simply scraping by like they did last year?
Well, it's one of them things, though. How are they going to get the experience? You know, if they're not going to, you know, every manager that I think is in the Premier League at the moment, you know, they've had to start off like lower down the leagues or in different leagues. You know, so they've all had to build up, and you know, I mean, in managerial terms, I think, you know, Dean Smith is still like, especially in his Villa run, he's still like quite young in the Villa run.
Yeah,
like,
and he's done what's been asked of him. Like, he did get promoted, and he did stay in the Premier League. So when you look at it like that, he's achieved. Surely, I don't think his objectives would have been much higher than that. But I think it's the nature of barely surviving that worries people. But you're right, he's still young in the role, so. Maybe give him a bit more time.
Yeah, I'm one of these. I'm always in favour of giving managers time. You know, I don't like the shotgun manager kind of thing. You know, I don't like it when a manager's going to get 6 months. And I think in a way it's like that's why I liked the fact that Watford went down, because of the way that the clubs run and they keep chopping and changing managers. It's like, pick a manager, stick with him, give him a season. I mean, that's the only way I think that, you know, Liverpool have got the stability in that they won the league. You know, it would have been easy for them, you know, if Klopp didn't win anything, just to be like, oh, you know what, he's not won anything, let's get rid of him. But they've stuck with him, and what happened? They ended up winning the Premier League.
Exactly.
And, you know, one thing I've noticed though with our tables, we've both picked the exact same top 10. Like the exact same teams in the top 10.
Teams, yeah. Okay, before we move on to the top 10, let's talk about those that would be floating around the relegation zone for both of us. Obviously, I've put Palace 14th, where you've done them dropping. We've both got West Ham around the same sort of area as well. I think you've gone 14th, I've gone 16th. So West Ham's another team that I thought might be in that relegation scrap where they were this previous year as well. But I can see him holding on. Obviously, it seems like you're thinking the same. I think an interesting one is Leeds. You know, Leeds fans are going to, now that they're back in the Premier League, I think just assume, some of them at least, they're going to assume that they're the Leeds they used to be, maybe. Whereas some fans might be looking at them going straight down. I think what they did in the past few years and what Bielsa's doing is strong enough to make sure they're not in that relegation scrap, though. I think they're going to be like the Sheffield United of this season. You know how Sheffield United obviously surprised us all and went top half of the table, basically. But literally all their run in the league. So I think I've got them at 11th and you've got them at 13th. So I'm guessing you agree with the same thinking as I do.
Yeah, I think pretty much. Like, you look at some of the players that they've got that good mix of like young players and experienced players. You know, Calvin Phillips looks a heck of a player. You know, he's been called up to the England squad, and you know, he was linked last year to Man United, and he stayed where he was, so he stayed loyal to Leeds, and you know, I think he could be a big player for Leeds.
Like Cantona and Rio.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, there was a way bigger jump now as well compared to then.
Back when Leeds were like Champions League semi-finalists.
Yeah.
And it's like.
But then again, you were champions, and that's not happening either. So.
Well, you know.
So maybe the gap isn't that different because you've moved down a peg, and they've gone even way further, to be fair. But yeah.
Yeah. But you know, it's all about that rebuilding, and you know, I do think they'll finish in like the bottom half of the table, but I think they'll finish in like the top half of the bottom half, so to speak. Like
the top half of the bottom. I got you.
The top half of the bottom half of the table, yeah. So I think, as I say, like Leeds, I think they're going to do okay. I think they'll finish solidly mid-table. I think for me, it was quite tough picking between 14th and 17th. I think was quite tough because although like my bottom three was hard to choose, the fact of like 14th to 17th. So my 14th to 17th was West Ham in 14th, Burnley 15th, Newcastle 16th, West Brom 17th. I think it's going to end up one of those where it could be on, say, the last day of the season, any one from like 5 teams. So it was just a case of, right, okay, West Ham are probably the most established one in the Premier League, so I'll put them like the highest out of those lot. I think they'll score a few more goals. Then I'll put Burnley in because I think Sean Dyche has got them playing really well. If they can keep the likes of Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes fit, they've got a decent strike force. Newcastle, it all depends. You know, Newcastle, they're another one of those teams, like they're in limbo at the moment. You know, nobody knows what's going on with the takeover. You know, if they get taken over, then, you know, who knows where they could finish. You know, depending on what
even
kind
6
of
weeks
players.
ago, you would have said, again, like you say, it really seemed like it was happening. So I think we would have both gone high with Newcastle, even before we knew who they were going to bring in. Just the fact they had been taken over and it would have been a different culture and a different atmosphere. But at the moment, it's doom and gloom again. Probably worse than it's ever been because of how close they got to getting away from Mike Ashley.
Exactly. And I think it's, as I say, it's going to be, I think, really close, though, between like the bottom... like the bottom teams. I think it's going to go to like the last week or so of the season, or the last couple of weeks. So
it was definitely the hardest part for me to pick, was that just above relegation was the hardest part to choose, because like you say, a lot of those teams could be relegated on both of our sides, but a lot of those teams could surprise. You know what I mean? Like Southampton, 2 years in a row, the 2 years previous even, completely different seasons, both of them, you know. So as far as like table positions, and it's really difficult to judge those kind of teams. And like you say, Newcastle as well, West Ham.
So you put Burnley in 12th, didn't you?
I put them in 12th, 15th,
yeah, and Southampton.
I just where I could see both those things happening, depending on the last few games as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's the Premier. The best thing as well I like about the Premier League is nothing's set in stone. Like we can sit here now and we can talk about it. You know, we could be sitting here like a month before the end of the season. We might still not know who's relegated, who's champions, who's going to get Champions League spots, who's going to get Europa League spots. And that is why the Premier League is the best league in the world.
Definitely,
you know, I mean, you look at like the Spanish league, you know it's probably going to be one of like 3 teams that are going to win the league. You know, every week, like say a Barcelona, Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid are going to turn over a team that's at the bottom 5 or 6-0. Whereas in the Premier League, you could have the team bottom playing the team that's top, and the team that are bottom could go out and win the game 3-0.
And Norwich against Man City early last year.
Exactly.
You know? And obviously Norwich still went down, you know. So It is, man. It is. It's such a great league to watch. I'm excited to have it back so soon as well. Moving into that top half of the table, then. Before we get to the very top, should we go Europa League first? And no, let's just go from the top. Let's go from the top, right? I've gone Man City to win. You've gone Chelsea. I was very close to putting Chelsea as well. I think they've had the best window so far, without a doubt. And they did really well last year. A few things, a few slip-ups here and there, obviously, and thankfully in the FA Cup final. But yeah, generally speaking, they did really well last year, and I'm just still not sure. I think Lampard did well. I'm still not sure if he could take him to a title. You know, that's the only thing I'm not sure about, because I'm not sure how he's going to gel with these players. And like they bought in just players that I think all of us would have wanted at the top half of the table, you know? So yes, I was very, very close to putting them there. And what didn't change for me was Liverpool second. I kept thinking Liverpool's going to be second, because I just feel like it's so hard to retain the title. And as much as Liverpool were great last year, it was the first half of the season that decided everything. It was Liverpool's incredible start and then Man City's, capitulation at times. So for me, it wasn't about, so the second half of the season was completely different for me, So I feel like Liverpool's they're going to continue obviously from that second half, is the way I feel. And I don't think they're going to retain the title. So the reason why I went with Man City is because, again, they had a terrible season. Not a terrible season. They still won a trophy, do you know what I mean? And they still finished second. But it wasn't as good as usual. But it doesn't mean they're not still a really good team still. It doesn't mean they still don't have incredible talent, you know what I mean? So I can just see them doing it over Liverpool and Chelsea.
Yeah, I think for me it was the whole... I know we discussed about it off camera and stuff a while ago. It's like the whole thing of if City signed Messi, it could change things dramatically. I think for City, a huge loss is David Silva. So I always thought he was the glue that held that City team together for me.
And then a season after losing company as well.
Exactly, and they struggled last season with losing company. Granted, they've brought in Nathan Ake this season, but is he the ready-made replacement for a Vincent Kompany? He was playing at a team last season that went down.
See, I don't think it's because City are going to be like that 100-point season. I don't think it's going to be, they're flying. Or like Liverpool. Liverpool won last year because Liverpool were just incredible for most of the season, So I don't think someone's going to win the league because they are above and beyond better than everyone else. I think someone's going to win the league because the other teams aren't doing as well. And that's why I think City's going to win the league, because I can just see other teams slipping up a little bit more. Going with the next spots, because I only think... Go on, mate.
I was just interestingly, we both picked the exact same top four. So we both said that Chelsea, Liverpool, City, and United would be in the top
make
four.
The top four, yeah.
But we've put them in different orders. So I went with Chelsea winning the league, like you, Liverpool finishing second. I put United to retain their third place spot like they did last season, and City to finish fourth. You went with Chelsea third, United fourth. Yeah,
so, for me, the reason why I can't see United staying third is because I don't think... Well, like you said, United got third, so why can't they do it again is the way you're probably thinking about it, right?
To be fair, we just about did it last season.
Yeah, the reason why I don't think that's possible for this season is because Chelsea are going to improve and leapfrog you. Not that you're going to get worse and go down, it's just that they're going to get better. So because the team behind you gets better, they are going to go above you. That is the way I'm looking at it. So I know you probably look at it as but we did that last year. Why can't we do it again? But that is not because of Man United, it's because Chelsea are going to be better. Do you understand what I'm saying? So
yeah. For me, it's pretty much what you're saying. That's why I put Chelsea to win the league, and then I put City dropping down to fourth. So
yeah, so that's a shocker to me, man.
I just think City are going to drop down because for the players that they've lost and the players they've brought in, I don't think they've strengthened. It's like you think they've replaced David Silva, but have they really replaced him?
That's what I mean. My 1 and 3, City and Chelsea, was interchangeable, which is weird because you think if you choose someone to not win, you think at least second. But I just see Liverpool keeping that second spot. So, yeah, you're making me want to put Chelsea back there.
To be fair, I mean, I think they've got all the tools, I think, to go all the way this season. I'm not sure, like, as you're saying, you don't know whether, like, Lampard is going to be able to do it, but I think it's one of those things where he'll just look at the players that he's going to put on the pitch and just say, just go and do what you need to do. I think they looked a bit ropey at the back last season. You know, I honestly think Kepa's going to stay now because Thiago Silva being there, I think that could help him. Having an experienced centre-half playing in front of him. You know, obviously the addition of Ben Chilwell, you know, left back, they had Marcus Alonso last season.
It's unbelievable. It would just start rolling.
Incredible.
The strengthening they've done, the pull that they've still got, because I think all of us in this kind of area of the table saw Chelsea dip in the past few seasons, sort of slowly, you know, going down the table, and obviously getting a young manager who's not fairly unproven, at least in the Premier League up until now. The transfer ban had to bring all the youth back, and this was the chance. Like, you can't get away from the fact that Man United and Arsenal slipped. You know, we missed out on opportunities a few years ago, but we genuinely slipped. Whereas Chelsea slipped for, I feel like, the briefest moment, and they only, you know, coasting more
than
they wavered, and now they've gone like, we've still got the pull, we're still getting these big names. That Arsenal couldn't get all those people. We don't have the money to do it at the moment, or we don't have the kind of ways to spend the money at the moment. I don't know, or decision making, who knows what it is, but we are not getting that quality of players. I think we're strengthening, I think we're doing better than last year, but not to the degree that Chelsea are, you know?
I mean, I just think though for Chelsea, what helped them was the fact that they had that transfer ban, because then they didn't manage to buy anyone for a couple of windows. So that meant that they had that money in reserve from then. Plus, obviously, they would have got a bonus for their league position last season. You know, it enabled them, like, you know, for you just to go out and be like, oh, you know what, we're going to just drop like 89 million quid on Kai Havertz, quality player.
It's actually done more for them, isn't it? Yeah, you're right.
You know, we're going to sign Timo Werner. And it's like, okay, you've signed Timo Werner, but then you got to think, those two players that come in, what's happening now to Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, who were, in my opinion, they were brilliant for them last season. It's like, are they still going to play? And you look at it, whereas if Frank's going to keep them in and around the first team, their strength in depth, I think, is going to be a lot better than City's. You know, City, while they've got a brilliant starting 11, it's, you know, if De Bruyne gets injured, who do they bring in? You know, if like Ake and Laporte get injured, if they're going to be the first choice defenders, are Otamendi and Stones going to come in, and are they going to be that formidable like defensive partnership? For me, I just don't think, as you know, and I'm not just saying it as a United fan, I just feel like City, I feel like we're going to finish above City this season. Like,
I just feel really weird. I don't know,
I mean, the way I look at it as well, we played City 4 times last season. We beat them 3 times out of 4. And that was with what most people would say was not a great United team. But, you know, I think the addition of Donny van der Beek is a good addition for us. Where he's going to fit in the team, I don't know. Are they going to play... If we play him, Pogba and Fernandes together with Greenwood and Rashford on the wings, Martial through the middle, we ain't going to need to put a defence there, mate. That's just going to be... It's going to be one of them. And obviously, there's still the ongoing, like, saga of the season, the Jadon Sancho thing. I think if we bring in Jadon Sancho, then third place is, for me, a minimum.
I'd say it's more likely, but it's one of those, like you said earlier about the Premier League being so strong. It's more about what the teams around you are doing than what you're doing a lot of times. So that's the only issue. Like, yeah, that team is good enough to, in a good season, like Leicester did, not comparing like that, but they're good enough to win the league. Then if Leicester can win the league, then why can't this Man United team win the league?
It's literally that front. The reason that we can't is because I just feel we're too fragile at the back.
And then, like I said, and other teams capitalising on that, you know. So it's same with Arsenal. So obviously, Aubameyang looks like he's going to be staying. We've signed some. We've got Saliba coming in now in defence. Gabriel, even Willian. I know, like people think he's in the later end of his career, but he was still one of Chelsea's best players the last 2 seasons. Like, and a lot of Chelsea fans didn't want to lose him. So, and the David Luiz thing, yeah, he can be hit and miss, but I think he's positive for the group as a whole. So, and obviously that seems to be doing wonders for us as this Brazilian connection now. But yeah, it's just.
And you could be
I don't know,
losing
man.
Bella
Like,
into Paris Saint-Germain as well.
possibly,
It's like,
possibly.
it means then, do you then go out and buy a right back, or do you like take the risk and just play Cedric there the whole time?
Yeah, well,
Or,
Ainsley Maitland-Niles did like well there before as well. So
yeah, but there's
yeah,
rumours of him going to Wolves as well. I heard
yeah,
as
but
well,
it looks
because
like that's
obviously
off now, though.
with Matt Doherty going to
Yeah,
Tottenham. So
it does look like that's off though. But yeah, again, who knows? By the time the window closes, a lot of things could change. When one move happens, as you know, it can be a domino effect throughout the league a lot of times. So yeah, I think we've improved, but and like that's my point about Willian. I think Willian, all right, maybe a 3-year deal is worrying to some, but when we talk about next season, he's still pretty much Willian from last season at this point. So I think Willian will improve our squad. But the problem is when Chelsea have improved as much as they have, and like say even Man United improving like they have, how are we going to keep up? I just want to quickly touch on the Man City thing again, because I'm struggling to see how they're dropping a fourth for you. Because I know what you're saying, like I can concede that they won't win the title. Even talking to you now, I'm starting to think, going back to my other theory was Chelsea, and saying you've done the same. I'm thinking maybe I should have done that, but I'm sticking because we've done it now. But if they don't, I can see them not win a league. I just can't see them dropping a fourth. I know what you're saying, they haven't strengthened. They're not as strong as they used to be. But fourth?
I mean, the way you've got to look at it is, would you say that Chelsea's squad on paper is better than the Man City squad? If the answer is yes, then Chelsea go above them. Is Liverpool's squad better than City's? If that's a yes, then Liverpool go above them. Is United's squad
I
better
don't think United's squad is better than City's though,
I mean,
because of the defense. I know City's defense hasn't been great, but you know what? Adding Sancho to it changes things. But
yeah, it's one of those. It could literally be like the toss of a coin. It could be the same as like last season. It could come down to like the last game or something. And for me, it was purely as well a case of, I think the United squad is slightly stronger. I think especially, I mean, if we get Sancho, it could change things dramatically. It could be, I think, more of a swing, but it all depends as well on like injuries. I just think that City have got a squad that's a bit more fragile. So if they get injuries, I just don't feel like they're going to have that same strength in depth. Whereas, if United have say for example, we have Pogba and Van der Beek injured, you can bring in McTominay and Fred, or McTominay and Matic, for example. Whereas City, if you get like De Bruyne gets injured,
and both those things happened last year, to be fair. De Bruyne was out for a while, and it did impact them. Pogba was out for a while, and while it impacted you guys, I don't think it did as much as people thought it would, or hoped it would.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, obviously signing Van der Beek now, and
Yeah.
with Bruno there, like, Bruno won the most penalties in the Premier League last season. Van der Beek won the
It's
most
going to happen again.
last season.
Oh,
So it's
mate.
like, you can imagine the guy sitting there at VAR, they've got 2 buttons. Right, do we award Van der Beek a penalty, or do we award Bruno a penalty?
Oh, mate, I'm worried
But,
now.
obviously, VAR Chester United, Howard Webb on our side, and... But I mean, it's one of those things where I think it could go either way. But I do feel like we will have that more firepower. I mean, all it takes for me is City to get Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero either injured, or one of them injured, one of them suspended. They've got no striker pretty much. Whereas if Rashford gets injured, we got Martial that can play there. If Martial gets injured, Greenwood can play there. If Greenwood gets injured, Ighalo can play there. So I feel like we've got more options all over the pitch where players can come in and play. Whereas with City, it's more of, okay, so this is going to be the back four, but then it's like, are the players coming in of similar ilk, for example? Like, obviously, Maguire played the entire season for us last year.
Mm.
A lot of that was alongside Lindelof. But then if Lindelof goes out, I think Lindelof and Bailly, there's not much in it with both of them. Whereas, for City, Stones has struggled at times. Otamendi struggled at times. Nathan Ake, as we've said, he went down last season with Bournemouth. So it's like, are those all going to be, are any of those going to be like a solid partner for Emerick Laporte?
Yeah,
I
I
think
get, and I
Ederson's
get.
a little bit hit and miss as well. It's like, Ederson will be fantastic. If Ederson gets injured, you're relying on Scott
Mm,
Carson in goal. You know,
yeah,
whereas United, if
it's
De Gea gets injured, you've got Dean Henderson to come in. Dean
it's
Henderson gets injured, you've got Romero.
you got you got to take those things into account, surely. But a lot of it is ifs. But then at the same time, these things do happen through the season. So I think you're right. I think, but it is still if. But if they are, this is why I think if that scenario happens, I can see him dropping. Maybe not to fourth. If it doesn't happen, I can see him winning the league, which is such a strange time for Man City.
It
And
is.
and another thing as well. So like you got Phil Foden as well. Like
Exactly, yeah.
Silva might be going, but Foden he did well at the end of last season. So
And
I mean,
another
it's
one
a big
in the
ask,
England
but
squad as well, and, got his first England call up, he's played his first game for England as well. You know,
yeah. Okay, so we've done our top four, and obviously in the third and fourth switcheroo between me and Dan, we've got Man United there, and it comes up into the next part where people, where teams are struggling to get into the top four, maybe.
five,
Obviously,
six, and
with
seven, the same as well. But
yeah, so with obviously Man United and Arsenal, there's potentially a bit of optimism or bias going on here, obviously. But much like Dan, I've picked not for such a strong position. I've picked my team for basically going over our rivals as well with Tottenham. The reason why I'm doing that is, look, I would have probably optimistically hoped the same thing last year as well and the year before. But the fact is, there was only a little bit of a difference between the two of us. There's a 3-point gap. Right, 3 points might seem like a lot, but realistically, it's one win. It's one win, and Arsenal have improved. There's no getting away from what we did at the end of the season. People might want to talk rubbish about the Community Shield and the FA Cup as much as they want, but the fact is, we did win those games, and at the end of the season, we'd beat City the way we did in the FA Cup as well, Liverpool in the league as well. And yeah, we had a few problems on the way, but generally speaking, I think we are much better than we were this time last year. Tottenham, I don't really see any change in Tottenham. You got Mourinho, but it didn't have the, I don't know, like, he kind of, I guess you could say he rescued their season last year. He brought them back up, but we were both free falling in similar positions, and we both ended up pretty much in the same sort of position last year. Yeah, maybe it's the optimism in me putting Arsenal above Spurs. I just think with a little bit more time, Arteta will be able to bridge that gap a little bit more, and hopefully we will leapfrog Tottenham. What are you thinking? Because obviously you've done the reverse of that.
yeah, I mean, I did it the other way round. I mean, just going back on like the points that you were saying, like the 3 point difference. Like Tottenham actually lost more games than Arsenal last season as well. And in fact, the two teams above Tottenham, so Leicester and Chelsea, actually lost more than Arsenal as well. So, you got to think,
It's a lot of draws.
how did Arsenal finish eighth? But then you look at it, it's like 14 draws to Tottenham's 11. It's like, if you'd have turned some of those draws into wins,
Which were all
then
pretty much, not all, but most of them in the Emery part of the season, and then into the Freddie part as well, where he couldn't really do much in the short time he had. But yeah,
yeah.
so
And
that's where the difference is for me.
yeah, I think for me though, the jump to six, I think it's just purely the Arteta building process. He's had like, is it even half a season or like a
Yeah.
quarter of a season? I mean, it just all blurred into one by
Yeah.
like by
I
like
mean,
March or
technically, it's probably
something.
about as long as a full season now because he's been in the job so long with the break that we had. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be like a rebuilding process. I think where Tottenham have got that kind of ready-made like unit there, you know, Jose obviously is going to have more time to work with the team. I mean, we need to remember, you know, he only came in himself like part way through the season last year.
It's
You know,
more about
taking
getting
over
more
from
out of what he's already got. Like, he did have a good squad. You know, like, they
exactly,
were in the Champions League final just before. So, yeah.
you know, and I mean, how like the whole Pochettino leaving thing is a totally different like debate kind of thing. But for me, I just feel that, you know, although they've lost Jan Vertonghen, who, you know, was a centre half, I rated him quite highly. It looks like Mourinho is favouring Eric Dyer playing there alongside Alderweireld at the moment, and you know they've brought in Højbjerg from Southampton, who, you know, I think he'll slot into that midfield quite nicely, and Doherty obviously at right back to
Nice
like
Arsenal boy,
challenge with Serge Aurier kind of thing. I think it's for Tottenham. It all depends on the age-old scenario of what's happening with Harry Kane. You know, if Kane gets injured, that could be the difference between Spurs finishing like where I've put them in fifth to say finishing like eighth or ninth kind of
But
thing.
to be fair to him, like, last time Son did pick up the slack
Son,
there, you
yeah,
know? So, like,
Son and Mora, but
yeah.
you know, there's players that have been linked with Tottenham, but then it's how many players would really want to come in and pretty much know that they're going to be sat on the bench for most of the season. You know, I've heard names that have been bounded about. There's been the likes of like Troy Deeney's name has been mentioned a few times to potentially come in and sit on the bench for the season. You know, I think as long as Tottenham bring in somebody that's got a bit of Premier League experience, possibly to sit on the bench to be a backup
I think Deeney
centre
would be
forward.
good for
I
him,
mean, yeah,
because
someone
surely
like Deeney.
you say the bench, but then there's been an bench in the Premier League playing for a team like Tottenham. As much as I don't like them, you know, they are still top half team. They are always challenging for that top four, or being in the Championship, or being for probably what other club would take them in the Premier League? Another team that was in the same sort of position as Watford, where he could be a starter again, maybe a Palace or a Southampton or Newcastle, or would you go to the higher end of the table and play
Playing
in Europe,
European football as well, yeah.
where you will get games as well, because the earlier games in Europa League, you probably would start Deeney.
Exactly. I mean that's obviously ifs and buts, like if it is indeed Troy Deeney that goes there. But you know, I do feel like they will bring in another striker, and you know, although Arsenal's business has been good at the moment, there's always that thing of, you know, are some of them going to actually want to be playing? Like, you've obviously had the Özil scenario now for a number of seasons, and you know, I think on his day, he's one of the best attacking midfielders in the Premier League. But it's one of those things
He's
where
not even getting his opportunity for a
will
day at the moment, though. He's not even on
it's
the bench.
yeah,
Like,
it's like will Arteta will he manage to somehow get him playing?
he's
You
back
know,
in
and if he
training,
does,
so it'd be good to see if he did. But then
mate,
even that, like you said, there's a lot of ifs and buts,
exactly.
even
And
if
I
he does
think,
play.
and that's why I feel, you know, I don't feel like it's going to be like Arsenal rocketing up the table. You know, I think going from eighth to sixth, I think is just that steady climb up the table. You know,
You're
sixth
right.
place.
I just don't want to hear it. It is true, you know. Like, but that's
You
why
know,
I'm going for that one step further.
that's like
Still not top four,
we're
though.
not we're not saying like, oh, Arsenal are going to win the league or anything.
No, no, no.
You know,
But
because
there's
you got to,
definite improvement. But yeah, I just can't see us getting the top four.
and
Like, it could happen, but a lot of things would have to happen in between that.
yeah, and I always think like the Europa League always hinders teams as well. It's just that Thursday night syndrome is just it's, and the other thing I think as well is Arsenal are predominantly a very good cup side. So you got to think there's going to be weeks where Arsenal are going to be playing FA Cup, possibly League Cup, Europa League, Premier League fixtures. You know, they're going to have congested fixtures.
I think
Are
it'd be
all
a bit easier
players
than last year, though, because we've got, I think it's about 8 centre backs. So unless we sell a few of them, as much as we might have an unstable defence, we've got a lot of them. So like,
I
you
mean,
literally could just pay some of them just in the cup competitions and the Europa League, and try out maybe Saliba along with Luis and Gabriel in the back three, you know, for Luis, giving them that experience and that. So, and then do your likes of Mustafi, and people like that in you know, the cup competition. So we could be a bit better than it was last year, but I mean, your
I mean,
point's still valid though.
even Kieran Tierney, like recently he played a left centre back for
Yeah,
Scotland. He
yeah,
played on one side of a back three. Scott
mm,
McTominay played on the other side of a back three. Two players that one we associate with being a left back, one we associate
mm,
with being a central midfielder.
yeah,
For their respective clubs, McTominay could McTominay potentially be the answer to United centre half problems?
mm,
Could Tierney be an option to play on the left hand side of a back three for Arsenal? But
yeah.
then it's who would play left wing back? Would that be Kolasinac or did he wait? Did he leave?
Well, it looks like he might be leaving. So again, it's a weird time.
I think it's one of those things where doing this, it's some of this is going to be so outdated. The time
Yeah, in
this
a week.
because obviously the window closes on like the 5th of October, so
October, yeah, something like that,
it's a lot could change. But
yeah.
I think Tottenham are going to probably, I say, stay in 5th, but Tottenham were 6th last season. Leicester obviously finishing just above them.
Yeah. Mm.
I think Tottenham may go up a place, Arsenal go up 2 places in the league. So for me, that's, I think Tottenham and Arsenal will be the teams that are 5th and 6th. And we've both said Wolves are going to stick in 7th place, much like they did
Yeah, our
last
next four are
season.
very close. Yeah,
Yeah,
other than
it's so
Everton and
strange. Like
Sheffield United switched around.
essentially looking at it, it's like our entire top halves were team for team the same. So we picked exactly the same teams, but we just pretty
Slight
much
movement on a
picked,
few.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we both said Wolves and Leicester to finish 7th and 8th. And
Mm.
then
And
you
then
said
Everton and
Sheffield United
Sheffield.
9th. I said Everton 9th.
Mm.
For me, I think Everton just edged that 9th place because obviously the potential signings that they can make.
And their
If
manager.
they,
I mean, what a manager to have. You know what I mean?
yeah, and to be fair, I mean, 9th, in all fairness, I hope that me saying Everton in 9th is doing them a disservice because
Mm.
I have a bit of a soft spot for Everton. Like watching some of their football over the years, like I just liked watching like the old-fashioned stadium at Goodison Park,
Mm.
and watching that and some of their players over the years. It's like some of their players were always like my go-to guys when I used to play like
You buy him
FIFA
on
and all
FIFA,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah, like
Me too.
my
Leighton Baines when he was in his,
Leighton Baines,
his
he was
prime.
always my go-to like left
Yeah,
back or my backup left back,
yeah.
and yeah, and like people like they've got Seamus Coleman there who's good. They've got Calvert-Lewin
Mm.
who had a decent season last year. Gylfi Sigurdsson's a player that I've liked for a long, long time, and
Mm.
I feel like Everton are going to improve, and especially under Ancelotti, I just feel like you know as long as they stick with him, I think they could do quite well. I mean that I wouldn't be surprised if they finished higher than 9th. If
Yeah, I
they
think
get
all those teams, Wolves, Leicester, Everton, Sheffield United, I think all of them could go either way. Like, there's potential in all of them, but again, it just shows how good the Premier League is that literally all this could be completely different. They literally, all of those teams, if they had a really good season, could break into that top four. You never know because Sheffield United, look at them last year. No one saw that coming.
and they finished 9th, so they were what is it, 2 points behind Arsenal
Mm.
and Burnley,
And for
and
most of the season, they were close to that top four. And another team like that as well as Leicester. I honestly feel that Leicester have missed their chance to do that now. I feel like when Rodgers came in, it was going really, really well. And then since, we all went back after lockdown, it just didn't seem the same anymore. And I just think I think he's kind of lost that. It kind of happened at Liverpool as well. Once that opportunity went, um, it felt like it was hard for Rodgers to claw it back, and then it ended up being a matter of time. And yeah, that might sound a bit harsh, but I just can't see them. I just think the way they ended last season, it's not a good sign.
obviously like us putting them in their place on the final day to take our rightful
Mm.
place in dining at Europe's top
But they
table in the
literally, they
Champions League. But
literally had it in
they were
their
the
hands and
architects
slipped
of their
up.
own downfall,
They
pretty much.
literally, yeah, exactly.
Just going back to like what we were saying about like the whole Sheffield United thing. I mean, just looking down at the table, we were saying about Arsenal and finishing 8th, only winning 14 games. Burnley and Southampton, both finished 10th and 11th. They both won more games than Arsenal last season. And you're thinking,
But like Arsenal, but Southampton had a really poor start, didn't they? So,
do you know what? I honestly think as weird as it sounds, the turning point for Southampton was when they got beat 9-0 against Leicester.
yeah.
You know, everyone was like, oh, Hasenhüttl's going to get the sack. But, you know, credit to Southampton, they did exactly what I like. They stuck with the manager. They're like, right, okay, you're the man we want to turn this around. And give him his due, Ralph Hasenhüttl turned it around. And I feel as though Southampton have got a brilliant young team. You know, they've obviously a lot of their young players that have come through their ranks. I'll name a few of them: Gareth Bale, Theo Walcott, Luke Shaw, Adam Lallana. Those kind of players have all come through Southampton's youth team. And one at the moment, they've got their captain, James Ward-Prowse, a player that I've long admired as well. Another one of those like classic players you'd always buy on FIFA. He sits there nicely in the centre of your midfield. And, you know, I feel like Southampton are going to do okay. They'll finish, I think, I've put them as 11th, and I feel that Brighton finishing in 12th. I feel, you know, Graham Potter's doing an okay job there, and they're steady.
So that's what we didn't talk about earlier. That's a big difference between me doing 18th.
Well, you put Brighton to go down. I've put them as 12th.
That's a big jump, man.
But for me, it's that whole thing of, I feel between 18th and 14th, there's going to be, say, like maybe 2 or 3 points. But then I think between 14th and 12th, there could be like 4 or 5 points. I think it's probably going to be a win and a draw, or, you know, a couple of wins in it. So it's going to be tight, but I just feel as though, you know, Brighton are going to come out. I think Potter's got them playing pretty decent. And I think overall, I think we've got the top half nailed, both of us. It's just what order they come in, you know. And
bottom half is definitely harder.
The bottom half's always harder, and it's like you never want to say, oh, I think these teams are going to be the worst three, and, you know, basically put the kiss of death on them. But you know, I just feel as though with Fulham, they've got the inexperience of Scott Parker in management. But then you look at Lampard, we're saying basically, for me, I'm saying, okay, so we've got these two inexperienced managers. One's going to go down, one's going to win the league. Yeah,
true. I don't really want for them to go down either, you know, like,
no.
And Brighton, you know, like I like seeing Brighton do well. They're a team that I've and same as Bournemouth last year. It was a shame Bournemouth went down, and I always had a bit of a soft spot for Norwich as well. So it's a shame, you know, this isn't us saying we don't like these teams. You know, but
if
like you say,
going on that, it'd be Leeds, City, and Liverpool going down.
Yeah, we could dream about Spurs as an Arsenal fan.
I'm sure you'd think, Tottenham, Chelsea, West Ham.
But yeah, a lot of it is going to depend, like we were saying, on transfers as well. Deadline day is going to be tasty. We're probably going to be watching it thinking, look how we did those tables already. But it's going to be interesting. If you're a big fan of Deadline Day like we are and all the drama, check out our transfer Deadline Day parody we did a few years back. Who knows, maybe David McDonald's got a scoop or two this year as well. But it's been good talking Premier League, Dan. It's exciting to have it back so soon.
Indeed, mate.
Well, let's hope we're both, I guess, wrong for our own sakes as well, because I'd like to see us break into the top 4, and I'm sure you'd like to see you maybe even snatching second spot. Who knows?
Mate, I'd love to see us finish 2 places higher than I've put us, but I don't think it's going to happen yet.
Yeah. But for now, Gunnosaurus can look after the replica, and one day, maybe, one of our teams will win the trophy again. But it's been good talking to you, Dan.
You guys are doing all right for trophies at the moment, so
yeah, true. I should be grateful, really. But it'd be nice to get that one again.
Yeah, you got obviously Aubameyang dropping the FA Cup, and then obviously lifting the Community Shield. Don't want him dropping that one. No, just don't drop that one. You paid a lot of money for that. So anyway, cool. It's been great catching up with you anyway regarding football. Yeah. So
exactly, we've got we'll do something in the future reacting to these, I'm sure. At the end of the season for sure, but maybe even a mid-season one if you guys want to see that as well. Let us know. But anyway, Yeah,
We'll be watching it through like closed fingers, like, oh my days, why did I pick those?
exactly. All right, mate. Talk to you soon.
No
Take
worries,
care,
mate.
guys.
Have a good one. Take care.
Subscribe and check out more football content. Wait, it's 2021, isn't it? That's it. 2020, 21.
Yeah, it's confusing. 2020, 2020, 2021.